So let's add some TPS animations. So I just downloaded the Pro Rifle pack from Mixamo. It's free, so download that. But there is a few gotchas, if you want to call it. Then, well, whatever. Some of the animations I'm going to, they're not really that good looking, or at least they do not fit, or I feel like they do not fit that well inside my game. So I'm going to show you a few tricks how to work with them. But before we do any of that, we're actually going to split. We're going to create the setup for changing. So the humanoid TPS will be assigned on the TPS controller, and the humanoid FPS is going to be assigned on the normal controller. Let's open up our controller. Let's collapse all of that, and then let's create our two different variables where we're going to be using. So I'm going to assign the animator override controller, and this will be the FPS controller, and let's assign the override controller, which will be the FPS controller. Then inside handle character, the FPS animator, let's see where we load the character. The TPS animator will have the animator or the override controller. Oh, come on. The runtime animator controller will be the TPS controller, and same, the FPS animator will be the FPS controller. For the FPS controller, as we already know, we don't really need a lot of things. We have most of what we need. So let's just drag and drop them really. And we have our FPS controller. Oh, it's an override controller. Hold on. We don't need this as override controller. Just need it as a controller parameter, yeah. Let's see, but then what does it get? Runtime animator controller. Okay, let's change the definition. Let's call this runtime animator controller and runtime animator controller. Okay, now we're talking. Let that compile. Then onto the animations, assign the FPS animator and then the TPS animator. Awesome. Now, if we hit play, we should get the same results for my TPS controller. For my FPS controller, well, we're getting nothing actually. So let's see why that is. Let's find our controller. We're getting nothing because we forgot to apply the prefab. Yeah, silly mistake. But yeah, as you can see, we now get the FPS controller for this, and this guy now has a different FPS controller. Let's see what this error was. So the TPS animator does not have, it's missing the target animation. It doesn't really matter. We'll fix that later. So this is the TPS animator, and due to the reason that this is the normal idle frame, the idle animation on with Mixamo. Okay, I'm going to switch this to original, and I'm actually going to create a new folder on which animations I'm actually going to be using. I'm going to move them on a different folder. So we have our Pro Rifle Pack. I'm going to move this inside locomotion. I'm actually going to be using idle crouch and idle crouch aiming as well. And for right now, we can add the walk forward. I guess it's not that bad. So let's move that as well. We have a walk left. I'll take walk left and walk right. Oops, that took all of it. So let's see. Walk left and walk right. Okay, I think we start with this. There was a reload, I think. Maybe not. Anyway, so I'm going to go through each one of them and switch this to original, and the idles, well, I think because all of them have a different name, let's fix also the names. Let's make them loop, set them to original. Let's go with walk right, original, and then loop. Okay, and hit apply. We have walk left, walk right. Okay, idle then. Loop time with the idle crouching. Again, original, loop. And aiming will be this. So that's my base layer, that's my top layer. The top layer, I'm just going to use idle and aim on the top layer. So this will be, didn't change, let's call this aiming. Hit apply. And let's set this to aiming. In my parameters, I'm going to add a new bool. We're going to say is aiming. So this will transition to this if you're aiming, and if you're not aiming, it will transition back. Okay, and we don't really need X time. You will just transition to this to that. That's pretty much it, what we need. And this has the idle crouch and the idle crouch aiming. Okay, these kind of are important, somewhat important. So that goes on the top layer. So it means it's going to override the normal position of this guy. So this is just a simple animation, but I want to use an actual blend tree. But before we create that, let's create float for forward, or well, vertical and horizontal. Let's create a new blend tree where we're simply going to call it locomotion, and go inside, make this a 2D simple directional, and we'll be using horizontal and vertical. So I'm going to add the idle. Let's rename this to idle because it's terrible. Then we're going to add walk forward to 1. Then we're going to add walk forward to -1 and speed of -1. Then we're going to add left and right. Walk left, then walk right. Okay, so that will be our locomotion. Let's collapse all of that. Base layer, then inside our game we can now just start writing code for this. So, well, for the most part, the only way we can check this will be with our shadows. So let's try one thing. I'm actually going to comment this out just so that we can test our animations. So we do have the control stance animations, but let me see one more thing. We can get from the velocity we're using, we can get some different values for our character. Okay, so let's say control stance animations. Then in here, let's take our raw velocity. So velocity, c dot velocity. Now, if velocity, well, first of all, let's say float vertical value. We will take that from velocity dot x dot z actually, and then float dot horizontal velocity dot x. Okay, then we're going to assign this on the TPS animator. Set float vertical, then TPS animator set float horizontal. Okay, so I'm going to move the game view down here again, because we kind of want to look what's happening on the scene view, so we get a little bit better understanding what's happening with our animations. We will first probably gonna need to close the FPS object. Yeah, we can see some of the animations happening, but I think the update off screen didn't work. Well, it wasn't commented out. Oh, oops, no, that's the wrong one. We need to change the casting mode to this. We need to remove that so we can actually see it. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. Okay, now there is a few problems. You can see that some of the animations, it's not like they're missing, but we're getting wrong values. Okay, and you can see that we're all getting positive values, I'm guessing. I think the velocity we're using is not relative to our own position. That's why we're getting this type of values. Well, first of all, we're going to say debug.log velocity, and we're going to turn that velocity relative to our own position. Let that compile, then let's hit play. Okay, let's start see what we're doing. Let's collapse first. So let's see. Yeah, we're getting some weird values, as you can see. We're getting like -5, stuff like that. So That's kind of easy to fix. All we need to do is say velocity.normalize, and we'll be getting some correct positions to that. Let's see them now. Okay, so that's one. That's left, that's right. But you see that it's a little bit weird again. So let's go on the animator and let's switch this from 2D simple directional. Oh, it's weird because we were, damn it, we had mixed the walk right. It was mixed with the walk backwards. Yeah, so that now should be more correct. Let's switch this to scene and let's try that again. Okay, now we're getting proper rotations. Awesome. And you can see that I'm keeping the top of the body is really kept in proper place, and you can see that there's a bit of a blending, so when we're going this way you can see that it looks a little bit off because the animations blend with each other. For example, if we go over here and do horizontal and horizontal, you see that this looks way off. And that is because we need to assign animations that are going to be using this position. We're going to be having him move sideways. So let's fix that. Let's take the walk forward, duplicate that, and we're going to say walk forward 45, and we're going to rotate this by minus 45 degrees, so that will be forward right. Add motion fill, then forward right, it's going to be this. Then duplicate that again, and that will be minus, that will be forward left. Let's call this forward right then. And forward left will actually be minus, will be normal 45. So you're moving this way. Okay, then select this. Let's add another motion field, and we're going to be using forward left now. And that will be minus 1 and 1. We need to assign the negative positions as well. So forward left will be minus 1, minus 1, minus 1. Okay, and then 1, minus 1. So we're going backwards, and the motion will be walker minus 1. I think we might have this wrong. Let's see. Horizontal. Yeah, we have this wrong. This needs to be minus 1, and this needs to be 1. So that one is forward, backwards left, and this is backwards right. Okay, so one thing we need to know, we need to set is if, or let's do velocity z, if it's higher, if it's not 0, and well, if it is 0, just leave it at 0. If it's not 0, then if velocity dot z is less than 0.5, so you're actually moving on the left, or maybe we can do 0.3. Let's do 0.5 actually. Then do, if it's less than, actually no, that's terrible. Let's say velocity.z. I think because we're using, for the most part, normalized directions, this will work correct, at least with key inputs they work and look correct, because most of the values we're getting are that. There's a little bit of a sliding that's happening, but we can fix that, doesn't matter. Okay, you can see, well, the animation is much more slower, of course, than the actual than the actual amount of movement we get, but we can fix that as well. We also not blend anymore. We don't do any blending, so let's do a dump time of 0.1 f by delta. Let's pass the delta time here. Okay, then I'd say let's do if math f, not f, if velocity, or let's just say vertical starts from 0, if velocity dot x not equal 0, if velocity dot x less than 0.5 minus 0.5, then that's the x, though we need the z. Then vertical, set it to -1. If velocity dot z is greater than 0.5 f, then set vertical to 1. So I guess we don't need this and this, and let's copy that and let's do the horizontal. So that will be velocity x, that will be the x, and then horizontal, and it will start by 0 as well. So we should get more diagonal type movement rather than, you know, fluid being everywhere, all over the place. Okay, let's see what the error we get is. We just need to be passing the delta here. Okay, good enough. Collapse. Let's close the controller for the FPS object. We don't really need to be seeing him. We just need to know that we're getting some looking good animations. Ignore his top body. Whatever happens with the top body, just ignore it. We'll fix that a bit differently. But yeah, I think that's pretty much good enough. We do not get any weird angles with the animation because we pretty much set them up. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I think that's pretty much good. That's good enough. 8-point directions. So we can also change the aiming. We'll start animations, and we can say TPS animator set bool is aiming is ADS. Just like that. Okay, so you can see he's changing his animation. It's just that subtle animation, that's all we need. We don't really want anything else for now, and we're going to fix all the rest with code, basically where he's aiming, where he's looking at. It's just that it has a better animation this way. So if I was using the normal idle, it wouldn't really look that great. He will be moving a lot, and I like what he's doing with him having been a little bit crouched in that crouch position. Okay, so let's clear all of that. We don't need this anymore. Don't need this. Then let's bring back the shadow casting, set that to shadow only, and I think that's good enough for this part because we already have now the animations. Okay, we of course need the sprinting animation as well, now that I see. So let's also add the sprint animation, and that could just be a simple override layer. So it will override everything. It will start to an empty state, empty. Let's increase this. Avatar mask, we don't need anything. And this will be sprint. Then we will have a bool is sprinting, and we will say sprint. I think there is a run animation somewhere. Well, it's one of the mixamo ones, whatever. Let's do make transition is printing, set that to true, is printing, set that to false, remove the X time. Let's find one of these animations, run forward. I think it's run forward. Maybe not that run forward, maybe sprint, which is terrible as well, but it will have to do for now. Okay, and let's see, sprint forward, sprint, and you know what, we also have a death, so why not just add death? Let's see. I think death from right is best. It's a better one. So let's add this. Locomotion then. Let's add death from right. Let's switch original, then death from right. It's going to be over here. Click apply. Let's just call this death. Okay. And we do want a reload animation as well. So on the top layer, I'm going to assign an empty state where I'm going to say reload, and it will just fall back to this, to the empty after it has finished. Okay, it's not going to really do anything. So let's see. It's printing then. Okay, let's add the sprint, and there is death. So control stance animations, TPS animator, set bool is printing, and let's see, do we have a death? Debug death, send player is dead, client player is dead, and this will do. Basically he will disable the inputs, and let's also say network print, let's player control or network print get player or target player, get player, player ID, then target player dot controller dot play animation death. Perfect. So let's test this out. So now if we go and kill the other player, we should also see him play a death animation. Let's hit play. Let's collapse something. Okay, let's see. Sprinting works, as you can see. We do get a sprinting animation. Perfect. Well, it's not perfect, but it works. So let's see. Let's kill this guy. And we do not have a shoot animation. Okay, so when we're killing him, we should probably allow for a little bit more time to show. So let's see, handle end of round. Okay, print, start new round. Okay, so before you start the new match, so basically this will be going, this needs to go in here. So handle end of round. Well, let's first do enumerator handle replay. And let's do yield return. New, wait for seconds. Let's say 3. And then cut that. Okay, then we'll say start coroutine. Handle replay. And let's make this 5 seconds, doesn't matter. Perfect. Okay, and let's put this into the game view. So we'll actually see the death animation for him. Clear that, hit play. Okay, you can see the sprint animation. And when we kill him, we get the death animation and then it will reset. Now, of course, when we start again for the replay, we need to be keeping a lot more frames in this case. So let's maybe say like set that to 3. And for network print, let's see, where do we keep, how many frames we're using? Generate actual, frame, index, frame count, add. Let's see here. Def, global setting, okay, replay frames on the global settings. Well, let's add that. Oh, also, when we reset the controllers, let's see, handle character, TPS animator, no, I think that will not work because, yeah, we need to set when we reset, yeah, okay. So, start replay, you have your, all of this. You also need to do controller, dot play, animation, locomotion, plane fixed time, say true. So it will restart the animation. Okay, then I'm going to go on my global settings and just give it a little bit more frames to play with. So let's see, replay frames, let's set it to 150. So get 3 times the amount. There it is. And he didn't actually play that, why? Yeah, he didn't actually play that. Controller, play, animation, locomotion. Oh, yeah, we actually play the override, so we need to say empty. We need to set it back to empty on the override layer, that's why. Because the death is on the overrides everything, then you just need to say that do not override them, and it will play the normal one. That's pretty much it, I guess. Okay. We are also missing the shooting animation, so we can add an empty state. But yeah, you can see that now we add that back in, but we do not have where does he play that animation. So for that we need an actual an actual network RPC frame. So, but first let's go under this, and then on the top layer, the same thing we're doing with the reload, we're going to add a shoot animation, where it's just going to transition back. It's just an empty animation, so it won't do anything. Okay, then whenever we play an animation, we should be checking for, do we have a network print? Network print, no, we don't have the network print over here. But we know when you're dying, yeah, so we know when you're going to be dying. So on the match manager, let's say 100 of round, target player, yeah, target player, control player, animation death. Okay, so let's go on to our network print. And we're going to creating a network frame RPC. Kind of want to do that, but let's open that. Let's collapse all of this. Let's find a network frame RPCs, which is here. Now we need to set this up as with a type, I'd say. Well, it's easy to fix. We can do public enum and frame RPC type, and that will be bullet and animation. We can also have, yeah, no, let's say, I think bullet and animation just does it. So let's do public and frame RC type and public string. Well, we could be using the impact ID instead for the animation name. Okay, so when we say load network frame, we do that. Then when we actually assign a network frame RPC, so when we say add network frame RPC, let's go back, player container, network frame. You do have your frame above. This is for bullets, so we will say n frame or type. That will be a bullet. So from here we could just do, or actually here we can just say network frame RPC frame dot type equals RPC frame dot animation, then frame dot impact ID. Let's use impact ID death, or well, let's say stored ID death, Then on that target player, we're going to add network frame RPC frame, the new frame. So we will add a new network frame RPC, and so we just need to see where we play them back. And let's see. Network frame RPC, game timer. That does a start replay. Okay, that clears them. Where is it? Okay, here we are. So while this is still playing, then we will now need to check for the type of network frame. Okay, so if it's a bullet, do that. If it's you can say that we have a play animation. Okay, we can just say that, you know, this is how you will also play the bullets. But right now we just need to say play animation, network frames RPC dot stored ID, and of course let's say false for this. So I think that should actually allow us to see the death animation on the replay. If not, well, I think there's no really a reason why it should not. So whatever, that's it. We of course have the sprint animation as well that we can create and can add, or well, we can find. Not a sprint, a slide animation. We'll do that later. Okay, so there's the death. Let's see the replay. Okay, that didn't work. Why though? State could not be found. FPS animate target animate. State could not be found. Debug the log. Oh, yeah, because we're playing a death animation. That's why. So on probably we should have decoupled them, but on the FPS, let's just add an empty state where this will be called death. I think that was it. Let's say we don't collapse them. Okay. Okay. So this guy doesn't actually play much or anything for that matter. I see there is a still, yeah, we also have, we also need an empty state for this. For the FPS animator. Now this, it's kind of hacking it together, keep that in mind. And one other thing that we can do is say if FPS animator dot is active and enabled, play that. And again, if TPS animator is active and enabled, play them. And of course debug log should be over here. Save that. Okay, that takes care of the warnings. Why it's playing the empty? Okay, we kind of broke something, I guess. Okay, I think we have to decouple them. So let's do play animations. Actually, no. Let's say bool is FPS or is TPS, since FPS is the main target, and then we're going to be checking if is TPS, if not is TPS, else. If not is TPS, else. So we can control directly what plays and where. So handle shooting, true false, because for this guy you want to play both of the animations, both on the TPS, both on the FPS. Reload, true false. As I said, this is a hack, but it works, so whatever. Then on our match manager, we're only going to be playing on the TPS the death animation. Then on the network print, we're going to be saying true false, true and false, and for this one we will be saying false. Yeah, okay, that's kind of terrible, but anyway, whatever, it's going to work. Let's see what we're missing. Play empty. Here's what we need. Is TPS true? Let's start the replay. Just so that you do not play, you're not left on the wrong state. We could probably make it into a single. Yeah, okay, we'll just make it into a single line call instead of duplicating that. Okay, well, that certainly doesn't work, even though we're telling him to play the animation. Play animation, then that's weird, actually. I don't know why this doesn't play. We just saw this, but anyway, let's name this to play. Let's say TPS FPS. So if FPS, if TPS, if FPS, if TPS. Okay, then let's fix all that. True, true. We want to play this on both of them. True and true again. Then on match manager, we want to say play it on TPS. This is player death. Yeah, true and false. Do not play this on the FPS. Although we could probably do something with. We could create an animation for that, I guess. Then true, true. And play animation false, true, and false. Now I actually want to know if this happens. So let's say we don't need fixed time. So let's see what's going to happen here. just in case in the replay we do not get the animator is closed, and that's why we're not getting the death animation, just in that case. Okay, true is active and enabled. Then let's see. Okay, so now it worked fine. Perfect. So that's it. So we now also have synced the animations. Let's also sync, however, the reload animation, because as you can see, we're not going to be getting anything over here, and I was reloading. Okay, so delete that. So basically now when we are doing a reload, we should be saying is active FPS controller. Let's see, do we have a reload flag? Is reloading, play animation reload, think direction reload, reload, is reloading equals false. Is reloading is controlled through there. Okay, so let's add a public bool reload flag. Then if you do indeed reload, we're going to play the animation. That's for the shoot in mode, so hold on. Do we use this anywhere else? No. Okay. So yeah, if we're not shooting it, okay. So this will say reload flag equals true. However, if you say that you do want to reload, we need to check if current weapon dot max ammo or current bullets is higher than 0. Otherwise you don't play the reload. Okay, so is reloading, current bullets true. Then on your network print, inside update actually, if you're not playing the replay, if controller dot reload flag, then close it, controller reload flag equals false. Then we're going to create a new network frame RPC, reload frame equals reload frame, then dot timer equals game timer, then reload frame dot stored ID reload, and then we're going to say animation network frames RPC dot add reload frame. I think on the playback though, let's see, 100 replay. I think on the playback we set this to false, so technically this will also be true, but we're just not going to have anything on our FPS animator for death. Okay, here's the death. Okay, I think that should do it. So let's hit play, and that will be the last thing we'll try for this. There we go. We should see now a reload. yeah, that's perfect. Let's see what got an error. Huh? What? Why do you get pull dictionary try get value pull? Huh? Oh yeah, we forgot to fix the frame. Yeah, okay. Not to print. We forgot to fix the frame type. So to fix that error and for that to never happen again, we'll create the constructor for this. Then we need to change it on the match manager as well. That's all the only two places we create this. And that's an animation, okay, and we need the bullet as well. Perfect. Minimize that. And let's test it out. Let's see. Okay, so we get also the reloads on the animations. Perfect. Perfect. So that's it for this part. As always, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and if you like to see more stuff, more videos, more series, more of everything, then of course consider supporting me on Patreon so we can keep making all of these nice things we're making. I'll see you next time.